Be me, 43 years old, sitting at my kitchen table on a Thursday afternoon. Son just came home from college for spring break. Notice he's been quieter than usual. He finally get a moment alone with him, making coffee, trying to have one of our talks. Ask him how dating is going at school. He pauses, looks uncomfortable, says, "It's fine, Mom." I press a little, tell him I'm curious about the kind of people he's meeting. He sets down his mug, looks me directly in the eyes. "Mom, can I be honest with you about something?" Feel a knot forming in my stomach, but nod. He takes a breath. "The women I date, the woman I'm seeing now, they're nothing like you." Laugh nervously, say, "Of course, they're not like me. They're 20 years old." That's not what I mean. He's using that careful tone, the one he developed around age 14. I specifically avoid women who remind me of you, Mum, who share your views, your way of seeing the world, the way you communicate. Feel like I've been slapped. Set my coffee down too hard. Some spills. What the hell does that mean? Exactly. He doesn't raise his voice. Never does anymore. Exactly what I said. I'm not interested in dating activists. Women who see everything through that lens you use. My heart is pounding now. You mean women with principles? Women who give a shit about equality? He sighs. That particular sigh I've heard 1,000 times. See, that right there. That immediate translation of what I said into the worst possible interpretation. Feel my jaw clenching. I've spent my entire adult life working for change. Real change. He started doing community organizing when he was still in elementary school. Attended every march, every rally, wrote op-eds for local papers and online publications, testified at city council meetings about wage gaps and harassment policies, ran workshops on consent and power dynamics at the community center, made sure our home was a place where important conversations happened, never shied away. From calling out problematic behavior, even in family, even in friends, especially in family, because that's where it matters most. Raise my son to be different, to be better, to understand his position in systems of power. And now he's sitting here telling me he runs from women like me. I don't think you understand what you're actually saying right now. My voice sounds strained even to my own ears. You're telling your mother that women who care about justice are somehow defective. He closes his eyes briefly. I knew you'd do this. Do what? Turn what I'm saying into a political statement instead of hearing what I'm actually telling you. Feel heat rising in my face. Then explain it better. He leans back in his chair, and I notice how tall he's gotten, how much he looks like his father. His father, who I divorced when our son was 9, who couldn't handle being challenged, who wanted a wife who smiled and nodded instead of questioning and pushing back. Do you remember when I was in 6th grade and I came home excited about making the soccer team? Where is he going with this? Vaguely, sure. I told you, I scored 3 goals in tryouts, and you spent 20 minutes explaining how team sports reinforce hierarchical masculine dominance structures. I do remember that conversation differently. I was trying to help you think critically. I was 11, and I wanted my mum to be proud of me. That's not fair. I was proud, I just wanted you to understand context. Right? Context. There was always context. He's still calm. Maddeningly calm. When I wanted to play video games with my friends, context about violence and objectification. Nomura next him. When I was upset about something, context about how I needed to process emotions differently than toxic patterns would dictate. Quote, when I liked a girl in 8th grade, you gave me a 30-minute talk about male gaze and objectification before asking her name. Feel defensive walls going up. I was educating you, preparing you to be different. You were exhausting, Mom. The words land like stones. Actually feel winded. Every single interaction was a teaching moment. Every conversation was a lecture. I made sure you understood important things your peers weren't learning. My voice is rising now. Can't help it. I made sure you wouldn't become another oblivious man stumbling through life hurting people. He nods slowly. And I appreciate that. On some level, I really do. But I also learned that being around you meant being constantly evaluated, constantly found wanting. That's absolutely not true. That's not what I did. Mom, do you remember my freshman year of high school when I mentioned feeling tired a lot? Vaguely, he was always tired. Teenager stuff. You told me I was experiencing the weight of privilege and needed to sit with that discomfort. I may have said something like that. Oh, I had mono, Mom. I was actually sick. Well, how was I supposed to know? You could have asked about symptoms instead of turning it into a lesson about societal comfort. Feeling cornered now. So what? I'm supposed to apologize for raising you with consciousness. See, that's the thing. You can't hear criticism without framing it as an attack on your entire worldview. He's wrong about that. I can absolutely take criticism. I've spent years in organizing spaces, working through difficult feedback, facilitating restorative justice circles, mediating conflicts between different activist factions. I know how to listen. I'm listening right now, aren't I? He almost smiles. But it's sad. You're waiting for me to finish so you can explain why I'm wrong. I'm not. That's not true. Okay, Mum. We sit in silence for a moment. Outside, I can hear neighbors laughing about something. Used to be friendly with them before I confronted the wife about her Halloween costume 3 years ago. She stopped returning my calls after that. But I was right. She needed to understand why it was problematic. Being right matters. So tell me about this girl you're dating. Trying to reset. Find common ground. Why do you want to know? Because I'm your mother and I care about your life. He considers this. Her name is Sarah. She's studying early childhood education. That's great. What's she like? He hesitates. She's kind. She laughs a lot. She doesn't interrogate every word I say looking for hidden meanings. The implication stings. She sounds lovely, trying to keep my voice neutral. She is. And what does she think about the state of the world, about women's issues? Can't help asking. He gives me a look. She thinks about them like a normal person, Mom. What's that supposed to mean? It means she has opinions, but they don't define every interaction, every relationship, every moment of her life. Feel my shoulders tensing. So she's apolitical? She's normal. He repeats it like I'm being deliberately dense. She cares about things, but she doesn't weaponize caring. Weaponize. That word choice. I have never weaponized anything. I've fought for equity. You fought. That's exactly it. He leans forward now. Everything is a fight with you. Every conversation is a battle to be won. That's what change requires. Sometimes it has to be. Does it, though? When I told you I was thinking about business school, you sent me 15 articles about capitalism and exploitation. He needed to understand the implications. You were making a major life choice. I was thinking out loud at dinner. I hadn't even decided anything. And did you read the articles? He laughs. Actually laughs. I skimmed them because I knew you'd quiz me. See, you did benefit from my input. I benefited from learning how to manage you. That hurts more than expected. Manage me. Yeah, Mum, I've been managing you since I was 14. Figuring out what to tell you, what to hide, how to phrase things so they wouldn't trigger a lecture. This cannot be true. We've always been close. I made sure we talked about everything. Real conversations, meaningful ones, not the superficial garbage most parents settle for. I created a space where you could be honest with me. He's shaking his head. You created a space where I could agree with you or prepare for an argument. That's not fair. My hands are shaking now. When have I ever punished you for disagreeing? You don't punish. You educate, relentlessly, until the other person gives up. I'm trying to remember a time I did that. I can't think of specific examples, but that doesn't mean his characterization is accurate. I engage in dialogue. You lecture, Mum, there's a difference. Need to redirect this. So, this Sarah, she just accepts everything you say, never challenges you. He smiles a little, genuine this time. She challenges me on stuff that actually matters, like whether I'm being kind or considerate. She calls me out when I'm being selfish or thoughtless, but she doesn't view me as a representative of patriarchal systems. She sees me as just me, and there it is. Just you is shaped by patriarchal systems, whether she acknowledges it or not. His smile fades. And we're back. Back to what? Back to you being unable to see people as individuals rather than ideological constructs. That's an oversimplification. Playan, I see you as an individual. Do you, though? Of course I do. You're my son. Your son, who you've been trying to deconstruct and rebuild since he could talk. This is spinning out. Feel panic rising in my chest. I tried to raise you with awareness. My voice cracks slightly. You raised me to second-guess every natural impulse, to view myself as inherently problematic, to believe that my maleness was something to apologize for. No, no, no. I never said being male was bad. Never said being male was bad. You didn't have to say it directly. He's still maddeningly calm while I'm falling apart. It was in every comment about men, every observation about male behavior, every time you talked about your day and the men who disappointed you, dismissed you, talked over you. Every time you had friends over, and I heard the conversations about partners and sons and brothers who just didn't get it. I was being real about my experiences. I was sharing my reality. You were teaching me that men are the problem, and I am a man. Tears are actually forming now. Hate this. You are not the problem. You're nothing like those men. Because I learned to perform being different. Perform. The word feels like an accusation. You think your consciousness is performance. Some of it, yeah. I genuinely do think about things more than a lot of guys I know. But I also learned to signal that awareness as a survival mechanism. This is too much. This is too much. Survival mechanism, I'm your mother, not a threat. Mum, I love you. He reaches across the table, but doesn't quite touch my hand. But being around you has always felt like walking through a minefield. One wrong word and boom, lecture about. Language and power. One unreconstructed thought, and here comes the educational moment. I'm crying now. Actually crying. I just wanted you to be better than the men who hurt me. There it is. Said it out loud. He nods. I know, and that's a lot to put on a kid, making me responsible for redeeming an entire gender. I've never thought about it that way. I just wanted you to be good. I am good, Mum, despite all this, not because of it. That's not true. You're good because you were raised with consciousness. I'm good because Dad taught me about kindness when I stayed with him on weekends. His father, who I've spent years explaining, was part of the problem. But your father, who couldn't handle an equal partnership. The bitterness leaks out automatically. My father, who you made miserable until he left. What? That's not what happened. I was there, Mum. I remember. You remember being 9 years old? You don't remember the dynamics. I remember you correcting him constantly, questioning every decision, every word. I remember him getting quieter and quieter until he barely spoke. He doesn't understand. He was dismissive of me, condescending. Or maybe he was tired, my son says quietly. Like I got tired. This conversation is a nightmare. So you're blaming me for your father leaving. I'm saying I understand why he left. Feel like the floor is dropping away. He left because he couldn't grow. He left because living with you meant being constantly wrong. This is not how this day was supposed to go. Who's not really a part of them. He just came home for spring break, was planning to make his favorite dinner, maybe watch a movie together. Instead, he's destroying everything. I think we should stop this conversation. My voice sounds hollow. Probably, yeah. But he doesn't move. I didn't want to hurt you, Mum. Too late. I just wanted you to understand why I date women who are different from you. Right. This is where we started. Before everything unraveled. Because they're easier. Can't keep the edge from my voice. Because they're peaceful, he corrects. Because being with them doesn't feel like combat. I have never been combative. Well, maybe sometimes. When it mattered. When things needed to be said. Remember the parent-teacher conference, when he was in 7th grade. Teacher said something about boys being naturally more disruptive. Spent 45 minutes unpacking that assumption. Son was mortified. Said I embarrassed him. Told him some things were more important than comfort. The time he wanted to go to homecoming, and I had a long talk with him about consent, gave him a whole framework for checking in. He told me later his date thought he was weird for asking so many questions. They didn't go out again, and told him he dodged a bullet if she couldn't handle basic communication. He just looked sad. His 16th birthday, when relatives came over, Uncle made some joke about him becoming a man. I interrupted the whole party to address the W-ever, problematic gender essentialist language. Son disappeared to his room for the rest of the day. Later told me I ruined his birthday. Explained that education is more important than comfort. His high school graduation party gave a toast about, hoping he'd use his privilege responsibly. Saw him flinch. thought it was important to say when he got his college acceptance letters. The first thing I asked was about the gender studies program strength. He wanted to talk about the campus and the dorms. I wanted to ensure he'd continue his education. Maybe I can see what he means. Just a little bit. About the relentlessness of it. But I was trying to do the right thing. Trying to raise a good man in a broken world. I did my best. It comes out as a whisper. I know you did. Then why does it feel like you hate me? He looks stricken. I don't hate you, Mom. I'm just being honest. Your honesty is destroying me right now. Would you prefer I lie? Think about that. Realize I've always demanded honesty. Prided myself on our open communication. But I wanted honesty that confirmed my worldview. Wanted him to open up about his struggles with toxic masculinity. About his journey to consciousness. About how grateful he was for my guidance. Not this. Never this. Why are you telling me all this now? He looks down at his coffee. Because I'm thinking about proposing to Sarah. The room tilts. You're 20 years old. 21 in 2 months. That's too young. Maybe, but I love her, and I'm happy. You barely know yourself at 21. I know I want a different kind of life than you have. That one lands. Look around my kitchen. Walls covered with protest posters. Refrigerator magnets with slogans. Books stacked everywhere about systems and structures. Pictures of me at marches, at rallies. Very few pictures of just us, just me and my son, being normal. When did that happen? What kind of life do I have? Challenging him, he considers carefully. A righteous one, and what's wrong with that? Nothing, if it makes you happy. Does it make you happy, Mum? The question catches me off guard. Think about my days. Meetings and planning sessions. Online arguments with strangers about principles. Emails to city council members. Comment threads where I explain and explain. Educational moments at the grocery store, the gym, everywhere. Always vigilant, always ready, always right, but happy. Have a few friends, fewer than I used to. Keep having falling outs over political differences, or their unwillingness to do the work, or their comfort with problematic partners. The last relationship ended 3 years ago. He said, I was exhausting. He said, being with me felt like a constant exam he was failing. He told him he was fragile, couldn't handle a strong woman. But maybe that's a pattern. My son is watching me with those careful eyes. I have meaningful work. I finally answer. That's not what I asked. Meaning is more important than happiness. Is it, though? Yes, it has to be. Otherwise, what have I been doing? I've made a difference. Have you? His voice is gentle, but the question cuts. Yes, I've changed minds, changed policies. At what cost? Don't answer. Can't answer. Sarah's mother sends her care packages, he says suddenly. Bakes cookies, includes little notes, asks about her day without interrogating her choices. She visited campus last month and they just hung out. Got their nails done, talked about normal stuff. And I watched them together and realized I've never had that with you. Feel physically sick. I tried to give you something more substantial than care packages. I wanted substance and cookies, Mom. I wanted a mom who saw me as her son instead of her political project. There's that phrase again. Political project. Is that what I did? Think about the pregnancy. How excited I was. Not just to have a child, but to raise him right. To create a different kind of man. To prove it was possible. All the danity, parenting books I read. All about raising feminist sons. Conscious parenting. Breaking cycles. And I did break cycles. My mother never talked to me about anything important. Never questioned anything. I've just accepted the way things were. I was not going to do that. I was going to be present, engaged, educational. But maybe I went too far. Maybe I lost the person in the politics. The son in the statement. I don't know how to be different. It's the most honest thing I've said. He softens slightly. I'm not asking you to be different. I'm just explaining why I need someone who is. This should make sense. Should be logical. but it feels like rejection at the deepest level. Everything I am, everything I believe, everything I've worked for. He's running from it. Running to some girl who probably doesn't even understand systemic oppression, who thinks equality means smiling and being nice, who's never confronted anything difficult. Feel the familiar surge of defensive anger. But then I look at his face and really look. See how much older he seems, how guarded. When did he learn to look at me like this? Like I'm someone to manage rather than trust. Like I'm a problem to solve rather than a person to love. Does she make you happy? Ask it, even though I don't want to know. Yeah, Mom, she really does. What does that feel like? The question surprises both of us. He thinks about it. Light. Being with her feels light. Like I can just exist without defending my existence. We laugh about stupid stuff. Watch bad movies. She tells me about her day, and I tell her about mine, and neither of us is trying to teach the other anything. Sounds boring. Sounds superficial. Sounds peaceful. When was the last time I felt peaceful? I'm tired. Say it out loud. He nods. I know. No, I mean, I'm really tired. All the time. Carrying all this awareness, all this anger, all this righteous purpose. It's exhausting. He reaches across the table again. This time he takes my hand. So, put it down for a while. I don't know if I can. It's become who I am. You're also my mom. Am I though? Have I been? He squeezes my hand. You've been the mom you thought you should be, but not the mom you needed. Maybe not. He says it kindly, which somehow makes it worse. Sit there, holding my son's hand. This man I created and raised and shaped, who is now carefully explaining how I damaged him. With love, with intentions, with principles, all things that were supposed to be good. I don't know how to fix this. Maybe you don't have to fix it. Maybe you just have to hear it. Hearing it is killing me. But maybe that's the point. Maybe I've spent so long making others uncomfortable in the name of growth that I forgot how it feels. This burning in my chest. This sense that everything I believed is wrong. Not the principles themselves, but the way I wielded them. Like weapons. Like shields. Like the only thing that mattered. If you marry this girl, pause, swallow, hard. I'll lose you, he shakes his head. You won't lose me, but our relationship will have to change. She won't tolerate the constant criticism, the educational moments, the interrogations. So, I'll have to choose between being myself and being in your life. You'll have to choose between being right and being connected. He says it without malice. Just truth. Sit with that. Being right or being connected. Have always chosen right. Prided myself on it. Never compromised. Never backed down. Never let anyone off the hook. And where has it gotten me? Sitting alone in my kitchen, crying, while my son explains why he's chosen a life that excludes what I represent. Look at him. Really look. See his father's eyes. His father, who I drove away with my righteousness. See the wariness in those eyes. The way he's already preparing for my next move, waiting for me to turn this into a teaching moment, to explain why he's wrong, to defend my choices, to make this about principles instead of people. Feel the impulse rising, the familiar script, all the ways I could reframe this, make him see that he's been conditioned by patriarchy to seek submission, that this Sarah girl represents internalized misogyny, that his preference for peace over justice is privilege, and all of it true. Probably. Maybe. But also, maybe not the point. The point is, my son is holding my hand, and telling me he's in pain, and I caused it. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but through 1,000 small cuts. 1,000 moments where being right mattered more than being present, where the message mattered more than the messenger, where the cause mattered more than the connection. I'm sorry. The words feel foreign in my mouth. He looks surprised. I'm sorry. I made you feel like a project instead of a person. More tears now. Can't stop them. I'm sorry I was so focused on who you should be that I missed who you are. I'm sorry I turned everything into a battle. He's crying too now. When did that start? Mum. No, let me finish. I'm sorry that my activism became more important than your childhood. I'm sorry I measured our relationship by your consciousness instead of your happiness. I'm sorry I taught you to be afraid of me. We're both fully crying now. Ugly crying. His hand is still in mine. I don't have any other way to be. The confession tears out of me. This is all I know. Fighting, pushing, educating, correcting. I don't know how to just be someone's mom, someone's partner, someone's friend, without making it about something bigger. He comes around the table, pulls me into a hug. Can't remember the last time we hugged like this. Not a greeting hug, a real one. Maybe you could learn, he says into my hair. I'm 43 years old, so you've got time. Laugh through tears. I don't know if I can change. I don't know if you need to change everything. He pulls back to look at me. Maybe just try being my mum sometimes, without the lectures, without the lessons. Just my mom. The simplicity of it is terrifying, and maybe possible. We sit back down, both wiping our faces. Coffee is cold now. Outside the sun is setting. How long have we been sitting here? Tell me more about Sarah. Manage to say, what do you want to know? Anything, everything. Just tell me about her, like I'm a normal mom. He smiles. Tentative. She's from Michigan, has 2 brothers, wants to teach kindergarten. She does this thing where she hums when she's concentrating. Drives her roommate crazy, but I think it's cute. Listen. Without interrupting. Without analyzing. Without questioning. Just listen. And it's hard. So hard. Want to ask about her politics, her awareness, her understanding. Want to probe for red flags. Want to educate him about the dangers of traditional femininity. But I don't. Just sit and listen. And watch my son's face light up talking about this girl. This girl who is everything I am not. And feel something crack in my chest. Maybe it's my heart. Or maybe it's the armor I've been wearing so long I forgot I could take it off. When he finishes talking, we sit in silence again. Different this time. Less charged. I'd like to meet her, say finally. You would. Sounds skeptical. I would, and I promise to try. Try to what? Try to be just your mum, not the feminist thought police. Just a mum meeting her son's girlfriend. He studies my face. Okay, but if you start lecturing her. I won't. Mom, I'll really try not to. I can't promise I'll be perfect, but I'll try. He nods slowly. That's all I'm asking. We stand up. Kitchen has gotten dark. Turn on the light. Yellow overhead bulb, illuminating our tear-stained faces. Must look like hell. He probably needs to call her. Tell her about this conversation. She'll comfort him. Won't interrogate or analyze. Just comfort. Feel a pang of jealousy and recognition. I have never been a comfort. Always been a catalyst. Always pushing. Never peaceful. And I'm so tired. So tired of fighting. So tired of being right. So tired of being alone with my righteousness. I'm going to work on this. Tell him. I don't know how, but I'm going to try. He hugs me again. Thanks, Mum, and leaves the kitchen. Hear his footsteps on the stairs. Door closing. Muffled voice on the phone. Sit back down at the table. Pull out my phone. Scroll through my social media. All posts about issues and outrage and calls to action. Comments threads where I'm arguing with strangers. Screenshots of problematic statements I've collected to deconstruct. Look at my life through my son's eyes and see someone exhausting. Someone who makes everything harder. Someone who weaponizes principles. Someone who loves ideas more than people. Someone who would rather be right than connected. Put the phone down. Sit in the quiet kitchen and let myself feel it. The cost of all this consciousness. The loneliness of constant vigilance. The emptiness of righteous isolation. My son is upstairs happy because he found someone who makes him feel light, someone who is nothing like me. And instead of seeing it as his failure, his lack of consciousness, his regression into patriarchal patterns. Maybe I can see it as my lesson, that I became so focused on fighting the system that I forgot to love the people, so committed to being right that I became someone to escape from. Not sure how to fix this, not sure if I can, but sitting here in my kitchen, covered with activist posters, alone with my principles, while my son calls his girlfriend to tell her about his difficult mother, maybe I can start by admitting that I don't have all the answers, that my way isn't the only way, that being right doesn't mean being happy, and that I have been so lonely for so long, trying to fix the world while breaking my family, and rest my head on the table and cry until there's nothing left. Tomorrow, I'll try again. Try to be just his mom, without the agenda, without the lectures. Just love without lessons. I don't know if I can do it, but he's the only son I have, and he's slipping away. Has been slipping away for years, while I was too busy being right to notice. The house is quiet now. Just me and my thoughts, and the uncomfortable recognition that everything I championed, every trait I embodied, every principle I wielded, made me someone my own son runs from, someone who men leave, someone who ends up alone, not because I'm strong, but because I'm exhausting, not because I'm principled, but because I'm inflexible, not because I'm right, but because I'm insufferable, and I don't know how to be anything else. But maybe, just maybe, I can learn